Hey guys, I'm the Coaster Keat, and everyone has their own way of learning. Some people are kinetic. They learn by just going around doing things. They really have to get involved in order to learn stuff. Other people are visual. They can kind of just look on to something or read a book or kind of visualize in their head and suddenly they'll just kind of understand something. And yet other people are audio. These are people that kind of use narration and internal dialogue as a way of dealing with the world around them, and various verbal instructions to kind of help them along. And of these three, I am an audio learner, and I come by it honestly. I mean, my dad is a audio-visual learner. He's someone that's really good at visualizing and at reading, but can also get a lot of information just by hearing a presentation or some other form of verbal communication. My mom is pretty much an audio kinetic learner. She can very much learn by doing things, by getting involved and getting into the thick of it, but she can also kind of take some instructions and use those to forward herself as well. She'll also talk to herself to kind of help with that audio component. And so I am very much an audio person. I grew up in an audio household, and naturally I am an audio person. So what does it mean to be an audio learner? Well, it means that your main way of taking in information is by hearing it. I don't know what would happen if I couldn't hear anything, but I would probably be a lot worse student than I am right now, because whenever I hear a lecture, or whenever I hear even just a normal conversation with someone, I can remember that for a ridiculous period of time. Such a ridiculous period of time that my friends that are not audio learners often forget things that they've said to me, little jokes or quips usually, little references or stories, and then a few months down the line they'll start telling me the same story and I'll just kind of laugh to myself because it's like, yeah, I already know that story. Part of the reason why I made this channel actually is because I didn't want to repeat stories. I wanted to be able to have them all in the channel and then just kind of know that they were there already. For anyone that forgets about them, they can go ahead and rewatch it if they care about that, which is probably unlikely. But at any rate, as an audio learner, conversations and lectures even are a lot easier for me to remember than for the typical other person. Other funny abilities that it gives you is the uncanny ability to parrot what other people say, sometimes kind of subliminally almost. Occasionally teachers or professors will say something and it'll be like a little mnemonic device or a way to remember something or whatever, and a few months down the line they'll ask about it. And the entire classroom will go completely silent and everyone will not know what it is. But in my mind, it'll just kind of scream out this phrase, this mnemonic device, and I'm just like, why doesn't anyone else remember this? It's quite obviously this. And that's when I'll raise my hand and become the teacher's pet that I've always been for the entirety of my life. Other things that an audio memory really helps with is sound association, which is part of the reason I don't really listen to music, because I very strongly associate pretty much every song I've ever heard with a specific scenario. If you ever meet me in person, you can always play me a song and I'll tell you if I have a scenario associated with it, which I probably will unless I've never heard the song before, in which case I am now associating that current scenario with the song that is playing. But this also applies to like basic household objects. I remember there was once a radio contest, or they'd play a sound on the radio and then it's like, oh, guess what household object this came from? And I was really good at it. Like I got like 8 out of 10 over the period of a few months. I very vividly remember this microwave door sound that everyone kept getting wrong more than any other, and I was like, it's so obvious! How could you mess this up so many times? All because I'm just more of an audio person than a lot of people. Another fun little aspect of it is having a narrated life occasionally. Like occasionally if I'm bored or I want to remember something, I'll just kind of start telling the story of my own life to myself as I kind of wander through, which is a bit of a weird thing to anyone that doesn't do it, but to anyone that does, maybe it's relatable. I don't know, maybe I'm insane. It's quite possible. One last thing that it's really good for, and then I'll get into all of the negatives, is learning things ridiculously quickly. Not only from lectures, but from various other sources, because One time I remember watching this video that was done back when GT Live had a whole YouTube series where they were like trying out real things. And one of the things they tried out was parkour, I think for like Mirror's Edge or whatever. And one of the things that they did is this roll, and the way they described it is, okay, you want to put your hands out in front of you in a triangle and you want to follow that triangle all the way down with your head, and then you'll go into a roll, and that's how you kind of brace yourself for a fall and things like that. So I watched that video once, just once, and then I go to this swim meet, right? And swim meets have a lot of dead time. There's not a lot to do all the time at a swim meet, so I kind of just decided, like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to try this out. And so I just did a roll on the grass. And then I was like, oh my God, because I just start going down and there's a little bit of panic. And then I'm like, no, I'm confident in this. I'm confident in this. And I just go and I roll and I get up and I'm like, I just did a parkour roll. How freaking awesome is that? And so I got so excited. I ended up just rolling around the entire just swim area. Anyone that saw me do this probably remembers, because for the rest of that swim meet, when I wasn't doing one of my lap sets or one of my competitions or races, I was just rolling to random people across the asphalt because I was so ecstatic that I had learned this new skill. At any rate, being an audio learner is obviously not all positives. I've had a lot of positive experiences, but there's also the negative experiences, and because I'm a relatively negative person, one of these is of course why I'm making this video. Not to tell you all the fun stories of all the positives, but some of the downsides. So if you don't want a downer, you can go ahead and leave now. Otherwise, some downsides of being an audio learner include needing to hear things in order to really understand them. No, you cannot just show me a graphic for a few seconds and then move on, or even a minute, or even 2 minutes, because if you do that, and I don't have the information to parse the graphic, I just see lines and colors and numbers, and it's kind of like, welp. The only way for me to understand a graphic is to be able to verbalize it to myself, and it's a process that people don't really hear because it's all internal. But when I see a graphic, I'm already just kind of writing an analysis in my head, and that's what I use to bring it back up in my mind later. But yeah, generally showing me pictures and stuff will probably not leave that big of an imprint. Other things that are problematic are very sciencey words, which can be fun since I'm in a science major. Because if a word is too sciencey and I can't pronounce it, then it's a lot harder for me to remember. Because very long scientific words that are hard to pronounce, it's harder to get that repetition in my brain, it's harder to get that mental audio of it, and so I can't remember it, like, pretty much at all. And then just visualization in general. Whether that is arranging furniture in a space or the spelling of a word, I cannot visualize at all, pretty much. I have like a tiny bit of visualization ability, but not a lot. So like when I was doing the boxes, I had so little visualization ability. I had to draw everything out, like piece by piece by piece. And then when I wanted to do colors, I couldn't just visualize like, oh, like this is what this color would look like here and this color would look like here. I couldn't even just pull up like pictures of the colors and then like kind of put that together in my mind. No, I had to take the structure, I put it into Photoshop, and then I cut out the areas for each color, and then I put the background color in, and then and only then could I actually visualize the thing. So yeah, visualization is kind of garbage. But the thing that is the absolute worst, especially in this Zoom era, you know, all things considered, a fantastic era for the auditory learner. Getting lectures that you can repeat over and over again, absolutely fantastic. But with one major exception. And that is the things that professors don't say on the Zoom lectures, and I don't understand why they don't say things on the Zoom lectures that they expect me to know, because it is extremely frustrating and painful. So, if for instance, my OChem professor, my lovely OChem professor, decided to have a quiz on the Labor Day weekend that was perhaps due on the Friday that we had our last class, and then another one on Monday. Couldn't she have perhaps communicated in this theoretical scenario that totally didn't happen? Couldn't she have communicated that clearly at the beginning and the end of class, or at least one of the two? And then, I maybe would be able to actually remember it because I would have had an audio log of it, and I would have been like, oh, at, whatever time on Friday night, my little mental alarm would have theoretically gone off, and I would have theoretically gone and done the quiz and not gotten a theoretical 0. But in this theoretical situation, I did get a 0. And then, Monday comes around and it's Labor Day and I'm not doing anything and I don't have any red flags in my brain because the professor never said anything about a potential quiz on Monday. Yes, she sent out an email, but I don't have a trigger in my mind because there was no auditory signal that there was going to be an email. And so I don't check my email. And so guess what? I get another, theoretical 0 on this theoretical quiz that was on the theoretical Monday. That was a day ago when I'm recording this and 2 days ago when you're seeing it. So at any rate, I would say that being an auditory learner is great for a lot of reasons. There's a lot of ways that it can be a lot of fun to kind of mess with your friends, bring up old stories that they've told, even manipulate people to some extent. Don't do it, but you can. There's a lot of fun to be had with it. But there's also downsides. Downsides that are exacerbated, like every learning deficiency, every learning downside is by professors and teachers that do not care how you learn. And so, that is the lesson of today, the moral of the story, because I don't know, this video has to have a moral or something. If you know what your learning style is, which I highly recommend that you figure that out, make sure that you take every precaution to make your experience fit that learning style. And if you're auditory, check your emails, because they are what's going to screw you over. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I know that this video is pretty random. If you are here for AI Dungeon, that is coming soon. If you're here from the music video, why? But thank you so much for watching anyway, and thank you for making it to the end of this video. And I hope that you all, whoever you are, wherever you are, soar high and enjoy your ride of life. Bye!